Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamanatira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayom Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivitakacharya Astatara Satasi Srimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gora Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing with Canto 10, Chapter 38. And the section that we're on now is continuing, almost completing text 27, 10:38:27. The translation for that verse reads, "The very goal of life for all embodied beings is this ecstasy which Akrura experienced when, upon receiving Kamsa's order, he put aside all pride, fear, and lamentation, and absorbed himself in seeing, hearing, and describing the things that reminded him of Lord Krishna. So this is not yet at the end of chapter 38, but there's a reference to this verse 27 in the beginning 2 verses of the next chapter 39. So here's that verse 1 and 2 of chapter 39, which we'll hear again sometime later. But references to this verse, commentary on this verse. So text 1 of chapter 39 reads, Shukadeva Goswami said, having been honored so much by Balaram and Krishna, Akrura, seated comfortably on a couch, felt that all the desires he had contemplated on the road were now fulfilled. So he's already met Krishna, and all the things he imagined would happen, happened. Balaram took him by his hands, folded palms, and led him to the home of Nanda, and there he is with Nanda, seated comfortably on a couch. The meaning is this. Nanda, after pleasing Akrura, entered the inner quarters to perform some night duties. Directed by Krishna and Balaram, led there by a servant, Akrura then sat on the couch in a relaxed manner, Shuka. Krishna and Balaram then respected him by offering a betel nut, sandalwood, flowers, water, and fan supplied by servants. Then Akrura became completely satisfied. Lebhe manoratam. When Krishna and Balaram entered their quarters, Akrura became agitated, but gradually considered that he was completely fulfilled on thinking that he had finally attained the two boys. All desires in which he had indulged on the road were satisfied. The word ha means clearly. It was expected because of his full devotion. Deham britam tyan artaha, which is this verse 27. The very goal of life for all embodied beings is this ecstasy. And then the very next verse of this same chapter 38, seeing Krishna and Balaram was perfection. Paragraph. He jumped from the chariot and offered respects, and then had his hands held by Krishna and received his merciful glance. He was embraced by Krishna and addressed with affection by Krishna. Previously he had thought of these things, and then they came true. Balaram had welcomed him and asked about the suffering of his friends in Mathura. Taking him by the hand, he had taken Akrura to Nanda's house. Thus his desires concerning Balaram were also fulfilled. That was text 1 from chapter 39. Here's text 2. And this is Shukadev speaking to Parikshit. My dear king, what is unattainable for one who has satisfied the Supreme Lord, the shelter of the goddess of fortune? Even so, those who are dedicated to his devotional service never want anything from him. Another key lesson in unmixed devotion, not wanting anything, and at the same time what cannot be attained. In the commentary for this text too, did he not have desires for dharma, artha, and moksha? What is not attained by satisfying the Lord? since as Bhagavan, he shelters Lakshmi on his chest as a golden lion. Response: the devotees do not desire anything except what is the mercy of the Lord, for this is the goal of the living entities, which again makes reference to today's verse, or this morning's verse, 27. O King, you know this certainly. So in the course of Bhagavad Gita gives principles, and the Bhagavatam illustrates those principles, the principle of full surrender, Mame Kam Sharanam. So that's Akrura, and everything is fulfilled. But he has no other desire than the mercy of the Lord. And no, he has an idea or an aspiration, as is good for us also. We can learn from Akrura, have aspirations of relationship. Now his rasa is already fixed. It's dasya rasa. And although he's elder, and therefore by culture, the little Krishna and Balaram are respecting him as an elder, his position doesn't change. It's dasya. And he's fulfilled. They're respecting his dasya bhav as well as his elder position very expertly. But it's the goal of life, that intimate personal connection with the personality of Godhead. So now we're going on to the next set of verses. Those of you that like to look up the verses, it's 10, 38, 28 through 33. It means it's 6 verses from the Bhagavatam gathered together. And here's the BBT translation. Now it's describing what Krishna looked like. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balaram in the village of Braja, going to milk the cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balaram blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses, or lotuses in the autumn season. One of those two mighty armed youths, the shelter of the goddess of fortune, had a dark blue complexion, and the other's was white. With their fine-featured faces, they were the most beautiful of all persons. As they walked with the gait of young elephants, glancing about with compassionate smiles, those two exalted personalities beautified the cow pasture with the impressions of their feet, which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant goad, and lotus. The two lords, whose pastimes are most magnanimous and attractive, were ornamented with jeweled necklaces and flower garlands, anointed with auspicious, fragrant substances, freshly bathed, and dressed in spotless garments. It says raiment, that means garments. They were the primeval supreme personalities, the masters and original causes of the universes, who had, for the welfare of the earth, now descended in their distinct forms of Keshava and Balaram. Oh, King Parikshit, they resembled two gold-bedecked mountains, one of emerald and the other of silver. As with their effulgence, they dispelled the sky's darkness in all directions. So it's the evening. They've Krishna and Balaram had already gone home. They've taken a bath. Now they're out getting ready to milk the cows in their fresh garments with new garlands and decorations and so forth. There's no BBT purport here. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur writes, Akrura saw Balaram and Krishna, whose glances were smiling with mercy at the place where the cows were to be milked. He saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in milking the cows. In the verse, Pradhana Purusha means those two persons who appeared as avatars within matter, or Pradhan. They divided up the work of protecting the earth, Shvangsena. In other words, Krishna killed Agha and Baka, whereas Balaram killed Denuka and Pralamba. Krishna killed Chanura and Kamsa, whereas Balaram killed Mushtaka and Dvidvida. Jiva Goswami writes, 6 verses describe Krishna and Balaram and Akrura's reaction. First, Akrura with intense bhakti saw Krishna manifesting his special powers as he wandered in the place of cows. They were going to the milking place. He saw them among the place for calves. Vishnu Purana says, Akrura saw Krishna with complexion of a blooming blue lotus amidst the calves at the place for milking the cows. Harivangsha says, entering the gate, Akrura saw Krishna amongst the calves, like a bull with calves at the place for milking the cows. The calves were gathered together, along with the cows being milked by the cowherds. The two boys are then described in 5.5 verses. From far off he saw their dress. He saw them glance at him, since by their nature their glances of mercy were attractive to internal and external senses. Their eyes, like bunches of white kandali flowers, were brighter than lightning. Their eyes were also red at the edges, which manifest in the Kaishora age. With the appearance of unsteadiness or fickleness, in order to realize everything, Akrura first describes their complexion, then their great beauty, and then their arms raised in order to gather the cows. Coming closer, he could see the beauty of all their limbs. He then noticed the two boys of Kaishora age walking strongly like elephants. He then describes the mark of the Lord, the marks of the Lord on their feet. The plural is used because there are 4 feet. He became stunned by the astonishing sweetness, and then again received glances of mercy. Paragraph. They had very attractive pastimes as they smile while calling and keeping the cows in their place. They then revealed by their mercy, by their attire for pastimes which he did not see previously, in order to show their complete sweetness. He sees all the details of their attire, which is described in order. They wore short, medium, and long forest garlands. Paragraph. It is understood that after returning home, they had bathed and put on fresh clothing. Astonished on realizing their sweetness, Akrura then became astonished at their power. And then the power is described. Krishna was the chief among all beings, Pradhana, and no one else was equal to Balaram, Shwangshena means, quote, with different avatar forms, since both are being described, Jagat Pati. Bala, Keshavao, indicates Balaram with great strength and Krishna who killed Keshi. Thus, Krishna would certainly kill Kamsa. We're almost done. Question. How could he see all these details from a great distance? Answer. The boys were brilliant. Although night had started to appear, they shone brightly, dispelling darkness in all directions. They are compared to mountains because, compared to other boys their age, they were bigger, with chests like mountains. Vishnu Purana says they had long, thick arms. They were like emerald and silver mountains decorated with gold because of their size and golden ornaments. That beauty radiated in all directions. Now there's a nice Krishna meditation for you, huh? One of the questions yesterday evening was, great personalities like this one, that one, they have such love for Krishna, and for me it's a struggle. But the struggle is a very different kind of struggle than Devihi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. That struggle is like we heard in the previous verse, Akrura let go of pride, anger, and other contaminations. That's the struggle, is to let go of those things. And as we can let go of those things, it helps to take shelter of the sweetness. Or by regularly engaged in the bhakti process, starting with hearing, the sweetness is so powerful, it serves to cleanse those lower tendencies, and thus the struggle becomes how to find more time and more concentration upon Krishna. The one verse of Bhagavad Gita that Krishna spoke on, Prabhupada spoke on more than any other verse is Chapter 7, Text 1. In the recordings and in the transcriptions, all over the world, at different intervals of time, Prabhupada spoke on that verse. And that verse is important in a number of ways. It's a transition verse between the first 6 and the next 6. But it's summarizing the essence of the topmost form of yoga, because the end of chapter 6, Krishna says the topmost form of yoga is Madkatena Antaratmanan Shraddhavan Bhajate Yomam. So then the beginning of 7 is, I'm going to explain. And he reiterates the elements, but it expands it. The mind attached, asakti, maya, sakta, manak, partha, mana, mind attached. So Akrura, his mind was already attached, and then he saw Krishna. For Krishna to reveal his form, the teachings of bhakti say it's not possible to see Krishna's form, even when Krishna's manifest pastimes occurred, except by his mercy. One cannot see Krishna's form except by his mercy. Akrura is seeing his form, and we can only imagine what his feelings are, because we know what he was feeling, anticipating. He was already feeling, according to this earlier parts of this chapter 38, he was floating in prema, an ocean of prema with different waves of bhava, this one, that one, the other one, being tossed around. He was helpless. Not hopeless, but helpless. He was just in the ocean, helpless, being tossed around by the waves. And now he's seeing Krishna. And, we already got a sneak preview. Well, text 27 says there isn't a greater attainment. And then it's reconfirmed again at the beginning of next chapter. He's sitting in Nanda's house on a couch reflecting on what just happened. He's achieved the perfection of life. Krishna and Balaram went to their own rooms, so he's feeling he lost their association. But he's also feeling at the same time another emotion, which is complete contentment. That he's a resident of Mathura. He's not a Brijbasi. And Brijbasis don't have the kind of reflection that Akrura has. Akrura has understanding of Krishna's divinity. Like Narada has understanding of Krishna's divinity, or Uddhava has an understanding of Krishna's divinity. Akrura is like that. He's a pure devotee. He's not one of our 12 Mahajans, but he's a pure devotee. And he's understanding what just happened. And now at this verses, he's experiencing it. And one can imagine an artist hearing this verse and then making a painting of the verse. So if you imagine being an artist, the sound paints a picture. And the sound creates a picture in the mind. And this is Maya Sakta Manak Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya. It's Mad Ashraya. It's their shelter in that picture, in that sound, in that connection with Krishna. So we're being given the same opportunity just by, as was said in an earlier verse in this chapter, what a great privilege to hear that these pastimes of Krishna. Actually, that was in chapter 12. Shukadeva is hearing from Maharaj Parikshit. What great fortune to hear from you. What great fortune to receive. Gosh, how many people in the world have an understanding of the form of the personality of Godhead without going into it too much? From devotees who grew up in the Jewish faith, I've heard that it's one of the teachings of the Jewish faith that there's no name for God because you can't say the name of God because it's too powerful. So there's no name because it's too powerful. You can't say it. What to speak of? Form. In detail. The smile, the radiance, effulgence from his body, the features of his eyes, the gesture of his glance, the potency that Akrura received just by Krishna's glance. Krishna's glance itself is everything about him. His flute, his smile, his sound. We're hearing. We don't have something really to compare it to because we only have our material experience. But it's totally otherworldly, and through sound we're getting this otherworldly meditation on Krishna. Now, only in Akrura's case, it's not just before he was meditating and now he's experiencing. But to get the qualification to experience, there was this great anticipation. So that's one of the important lessons for us, the practical application part, and that's the anticipation or yearning, and pursuing that yearning with eagerness, and that pursuing of yearning with eagerness requires letting go of stuff, the affinity for stuff, the attachment to the temporary, and the way of the conditioned way of life. It's not easy to let go of conditioned way of life. Maya doesn't let us go, and we don't let Maya go. We're clinging. So, bhakti process is a means, like this beautiful section of meditating on Krishna's appearance, and then, as we say, as it is explained by the commentary, his mightiness. At the same time, seeing what he's seeing, he is simultaneously conscious that these two are the source of all the universes. And these two appear in various forms for the protection of the good souls within the universe by annihilating the demons. And he is cognizant of all that. It's like, circuit overload. But so his capacity is great. His experience matches his capacity. And so next is Krishna is going to do all the things that he imagined would happen. They happen. Not because he imagined they have to happen, but Krishna knows the desires of his devotees, and Krishna reciprocates with the desires of his pure devotees. There's a similar section. I'll end with this. Very nice section. After, of course, it's all orchestrated by Krishna's Yogamaya potency, but Nanda Maharaj was kidnapped by the agents of Varuna, with the mistaken understanding of the agents of Varuna that Nanda Maharaj was about to break Ekadasi in an inappropriate time. And so he was kidnapped, taken to Varuna's abode. And the elders of Vraja saw that happen. They didn't see the kidnap. They just saw Nanda went into, before the sun rose, so it's still dark at night, he's in the river Jamuna to take a morning bath before the breaking of the fast time. And he didn't come back out of the river Jamuna. So they're calling out loudly. Krishna heard, Krishna came, Krishna went, Krishna retrieved him. And when everybody came back and Nanda's explaining what happened, mainly the opulence of Varuna's realm, the heavenly realm. He experienced heavenly realm. And then he also experienced Varuna worshipping his son, who at that time was little, but still his son. So sharing all this with the elders back in Braja, they started speculating. Who is he? Maybe this, maybe that, maybe the other thing. And if he is the personality of Godhead, then maybe he'll be kind enough to show us his spiritual abode. Maybe one day we'll become eligible to be in his spiritual abode. I mean, they weren't recognizing that they were already there. Krishna understood their desire, and so he decided, I'll show them Krishna Loka. And so he did. And when they saw what they saw, they were further amazed. They not only saw Krishna Loka, but they saw Krishna in Krishna Loka. And they saw themselves in Krishna Loka with Krishna. And they saw the personified Vedas offering prayers in praise of Krishna. And then Yogamaya curtain closed and they forgot everything. But because they wanted, he decided, I'll show them. So similarly, because Akrura wanted, Krishna did just as Akrura wanted. Each of the items. Now, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. He's not our order supplier. But if an aspiration for Krishna's companionship or love or whatever is genuine, Krishna will reciprocate. That's his nature. It's part of his loving nature. He's not an order supplier. He's a loving person. It's really a fantastic teaching, a theology. But it's more than a teaching and theology. It's the invitation is to experience all of this. Each of us according to our deeper spiritual, position, even while we're covered and struggling with this and that. The process itself is meant to carry us to that position. So let's see if there's some discussion.
I feel I'm not qualified, but I do have desire to serve the Lord. At my stage, I only see the devotees as the representative of the Lord, and God has given me responsibility to serve the family. For some reason, I feel that I've been neglected, or like I've been misunderstood, and that is something like a roadblock to get closer to a devotee and serve further to the family also. So how to overcome that, Maharaj?
How to overcome the apprehension of being misunderstood? That's what your question is?
Yes, Maharaj. That is something I particularly feel that way, that I've been neglected.
I'm just seeking clarification. That's your question?
Yes, Maharaj.
There's different ways of responding to that question. One of the ways of responding is that's a need, and how to having recognized the need, is it, making a distinction between reality and illusion? Now, and perhaps redirecting that need to a place of higher consciousness. That is to say, supposing in the course of life, it just stays in that position that you're not misunderstood, or you're continuing to feel misunderstood. What is the consequence of being misunderstood, or feeling that you're being misunderstood? That is a negative emotion, and that negative emotion blocks your connection with Krishna, your connection even with who you are, or let's say even understanding who you are. It's a covering. So what the comment here is knowledge and detachment. There's the observer of the emotion, and then there's the emotion, and you're the observer, you're not the emotion. Jnana Vairagya. You with me? So then if I'm the observer of the emotion, then that's who you really are. And then hang out over there for a while, who you really are, and do some of that, who you really are. Let go of the emotion by knowledge and detachment and connect with who you really are. And between you and Krishna, he knows that's the place where there's understanding. And if Krishna accepts you and Krishna understands you, that's who you really are. And that's your spiritual life. Now, easier said than done, but making the Krishna connection dispels the negative emotion. It doesn't rule your life when you know that you're understood by the source of everything, because he understands. But because we've forgotten that and we're over in the kingdom of Maya, this becomes really important. I want to be understood, and I feel I'm not understood. I'm misunderstood. So I'm over in this negative emotion space that has nothing to do with who you really are. It has to do with your conditioning. So there's probably strategies or whatever, therapies or something to address the, how did that negative emotion get there? Where's the root? From worldly experience, and then, dissolve the root. So then it's no longer ruling your life. There's probably some modalities of dealing with that particular negative emotion or other negative emotions. But the spiritual approach, I'm just, in a simple way outlined, knowledge and detachment. And I don't want to be ruled by that which I'm not, and just be stuck. What's the alternative? And you work on the alternative. There's a relationship between you and Krishna understands. And other persons is one of the things that, as far as I understand how it works, is persons that are skilled in listening. You can say counselors. They don't judge, they just listen. And then they understand and they repeat back so that you've understood that they've understood, and then you feel understood. So then there's a relationship where you feel understood. Not judged or, valued good or bad, just understood. So then there's some contentment of feeling understood instead of feeling misunderstood. And then you grow that. I mean, that's like a counseling technology as far as I understand it, or technique. But it's incomplete. My analysis is that's incomplete without having a genuine spiritual conception of who you are. Not just there's a need that's unmet. Then you find that need is met and you feel more peaceful. At least there's one person, my counselor, that understands me. They don't have to be, accepting, like it's nice or good or bad or anything, without judgment. It's just that I'm understood. So you can try to find somebody that you can share, and not even necessarily that your perception of who you are and how you interact with others is an accurate perception. It's not like they have to buy into your perception of yourself to be understood. You follow? Because we're an illusion. We don't have a correct understanding of much of anything, including ourselves. What to speak of the spiritual reality of who we are. We don't have a clear conception of the material or spiritual dimension of who we are. We don't understand ourselves. What to speak of having others not understand us? So the spiritual solution is the real solution, and there can be do other things, other assisting factors can be taken up to help diminish that feeling, or the weight of that feeling that rules a portion of your life. Overcoming negative emotions topic. My short point is, without spiritual reality, without a spiritual conception, we'll never overcome negative emotions. We'll just find another set of negative emotions after this set, that set, the other set. It's just the nature of the place. We need a spiritual conception. Yeah, but, my negative emotions are blocking me from the spiritual conception. Which is, that's not true. Light is stronger than darkness. So go towards the light. That's our bhakti process. So you strive with your relationship with Krishna, starting with the Mahamantra. And that's the most important way, the key, the secret door to get you connected in your relationship with Krishna, to cleanse the coverings and make the Krishna connection real. That's your opportunity. That's this mayastakta manakparta. Yogam yunjad madashraya. It's the madashraya. That's the spiritual solution. Okay?
A good friend of mine, they have interest in Krishna consciousness, but somehow got some misconceptions, and I tried to invite them for devotee association. They keep avoiding devotee association, but they continue. They want to be my friend.
Good.
Only thing is, like, sometimes I kind of feel that they want me to be just a friend, but not talking about Krishna consciousness. Maybe, that's the understanding that I got. And also, like, what bothers me the most is I have some anger because they keep choosing, even though they know what is right and wrong, due to this conditional nature, they tend to be making the bad choices. But the thing is, I can't tell that's a bad choice. But, getting into, again, struggling into this repeated situations, some way or the other, it is the same thing they are landing in. But they want my support, but I'm in a situation where I'm not able to really help them, Maharaj. That creates some anger in me.
Well, that's several things in one shot. The anger part is one part, and then how can you be of help to them when they want you to be a friend, but it's a conditional, you're my friend as long as you don't remind me of Krishna.
Yes.
The anger, that's your problem, and the aversion to Krishna is their problem. And, they're two different things, two different factors to address yourself to. The anger is not, it's not caring about them, it's a controlling. Anger is kamesha, krodesha. Rajoguna. It's a mode of passion, not a mode of compassion. Or it's attachment, not detachment. So there's a way to have relationships with there's caring, but without attachment, detached caring. And that is possible when there's attachment to Krishna, and it's not possible if there's not attachment to Krishna. So if you're seeing yourself as an instrument of Krishna, it takes away the anger, the frustration, that they just keep doing the same thing. They want my support, but they don't want Krishna in the picture. That makes me angry. So you just stay in the position of being Krishna's instrument, and then back to the other question, how do you be the instrument with somebody that doesn't want to be reminded of Krishna? Well, in your own way, a message needs to be communicated in the context of that relationship, that my function in my friendship with you is to very gently remind you of Krishna. That's my sense of the essence of friendship. A friend is one who you gently help them grow. You accept them, you're not judging them, but you gently help them grow. That's a friend. And grow means with a spiritual conception. Now, if they don't want you to be a spiritual person, they just want you to be a friend, I'm sorry, that's not who I am. If you want me to accept you for who you are, please accept me for who I am. And, look inside, and there's Krishna. That's me. And what's inside is going to come outside. But I'll be respectful that you have your boundaries. But I also, please be respectful of who I am. That I wish to gently help you grow. And if you continue doing things that lead to misfortune, I'm not going to judge that. That's the anger. I'm not going to judge that. But please allow me to remind you, you're in this situation of misfortune because of choices that you made that are forgetful of Krishna. So let me just gently remind you, not judge you, and gently help you grow. So if that's like uncomfortable for the person, then it's not a friendship. You're not being their friend. Whether they view you as not being my friend because you're not allowing me to do anything. So you just, set some parameters or boundaries, that's a modern word, for what the relationship is. I am and you are. We'll accept one another. And this is one of the things that I do as a friend. And you're not the same as me. That's okay. We're different. But, this is me. And this is what a friend is. Dheeraj, send her that little friend message so you can take a look at it. How are we doing? It's nearly 8 o'clock. Anyone else?
Guru Maharaj, you are talking about Akrura seeing Lord Krishna and Balaram and being attracted by their beauty. So you're saying he was they were attractive internally and externally. Externally, I understood the beauty he was glorifying. And what is internally attractive?
his being or personality or his presence, the subtle, not just the visual, attractive. Let's say, for example, when you're in the presence of someone who is, the presence of someone who is a very mode of goodness person, if they're just in the room, there's a presence about them that's attractive, aside from what their physical features look like. There's a potency or an attractiveness about that, very pious person. You follow? Microphone. It's on, just speak into it.
Yeah, because he's already have an understanding of Krishna, so...
But now he's experiencing, it's beyond the understanding. He's attracted by that experience. That's all. Okay. I think we'll end. Srila Prabhupada ki.